Good evening. At this time, I will call the regular meeting of the Board of Adjustments and Appeals for March 23rd, 2022. At this time, would you please stand up and join me as we pledge allegiance to the flag? Thank you. Pledge allegiance to the flag. Thank you. Okay. May we have roll call, please?
Chairman Taylor?
You want to do that first, or? Sure. Okay. Go back up. I'm sorry. We have a new member to be installed.
I would like to invite Dr. Beckles down to the podium to join me in the swearing in, as she is a newest member appointed by City Council.
Hi.
Good evening, Dr. Beckles. If you could please raise your right hand and place your left on the Bible and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Dr. Beckles,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support,
that I will support,
protect, and defend
protect, and defend
the Constitution and government
the Constitution and government
of the United States
of the United States
and state of Florida
and state of Florida
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
domestic or foreign,
domestic or foreign,
and that I will bear
and that I will bear
true faith,
true faith,
loyalty, and allegiance
loyalty, and allegiance
to the same,
to the same,
and that I am entitled
and that I am entitled
to hold office
to hold office
under the Constitution,
under the Constitution,
that I will faithfully perform
that I will faithfully perform
all of the duties
all of the duties
of the office
of the office
of the Board of Adjustments and
of
Appeals
the Board of Adjustment and Appeals
of the City of Titusville,
of the City of Titusville,
on which I am about to enter.
in which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you, Gina, Dr. Beckles, and congratulations.
All right.
And you may now take your seat as a fully appointed, sworn-in member of the Board of Adjustment and Appeals. Thank you so much.
Okay, now may we have roll call, please?
Chairman Taylor?
Here.
Vice Chairman Smith Rodriguez?
Here.
Member Beckles?
Here.
Member Van Deven?
Here.
Member Wheelis?
Here. All right. Next up is approval for the minutes, the 23rd, February 23rd, 2002 minutes. Did
Mr.
anyone know?
Chairman, I did have one correction to point out on the first page. The date at the top, the first paragraph, is going to be corrected to the 23rd.
Good.
Okay.
Were there any other corrections or modifications anyone noticed?
No other corrections. I move to approve the minutes.
Have a second?
I second it.
Very well. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Thank you. Oops. All right. All persons who anticipate speaking on a public hearing item must fill out an oath card to be heard on that agenda item and sign the oath contained thereon. These cards are located on a table at the entrance to the council chamber or may be obtained from the recording secretary. This meeting will be conducted in accordance with procedures adopted in Resolution Number 24-1997. Those speaking in favor of requests will be heard first, those opposed will be heard second, and those who wish to make a public comment on an item will speak third. Applicant may make a brief rebuttal if necessary. A representative for either side, for or against, may cross-examine a witness. Anyone who speaks is considered a witness. If you have photographs, sketches, or documents that you desire for the commission to consider, they must be admitted into evidence and will be retained by the city. Please submit such exhibits to the recording secretary. Again, if you plan to speak tonight, you need to fill out an oath card before that item comes up before us. Okay? All right. Staff, have the agenda items been properly advertised for
Yes.
you? Have any members that have spoken or visited or had any regards to anything we're talking about this evening?
No.
By seeing all no, get moved here. No consent agenda, no old business. We do have new business. And may I suggest that line number 2 and 3 or do we need to do them separately?
So holding the public hearing for both of them to combine, but the actions should be separate.
Yes, we can vote at the end, but we can just do the hearing part all as one item. Will that meet with approval committee on the board here? Very good. So we will do that. So give us a little update on variance 8, 2022 and variance 9, 2022 at 2311 Fox Hollow Drive. One being lot 5 and lot 24. Thank you.
So the first two variances tonight, 8 and 9, again, variance 8 number 2022 for 2311 Fox Hollow, and then variance number 9-2022 for 2301 Fox Hollow Drive. They're similar to a variance that you heard and considered at your last meeting. The staff report for number 8 begins on page 8 of your packet. So the request for the variance is by the applicant, Rescom Contractors LLC, is requesting a variance to the code section 30-332, required landscape yards, primarily to the front of the property, adjacent to the public right-of-way, and to the sides. There's a 20-foot landscape buffer requirement in those areas. The applicant is asking for the width of those landscape buffers to be reduced in half in the multifamily high-density R3 zoning district. This is the same request for variance number 9. The surrounding properties are also R3 multifamily. The lot characteristic is more than 10,000 square feet in size, which meets the 10,000 square feet minimum for the R3 zoning district. Property has 90 feet of frontage on Fox Hollow Drive. Both properties are currently vacant. Proposed use is for the development of a 4-unit multifamily dwelling with 1,000 plus square feet per units, and which exceeds the minimum required in the R3 zoning district. So I'm going to just briefly describe the review criteria that you should consider as part of a variance request. I won't repeat this for the subsequent variance applications, though. You should consider, when you're considering a variance request, you should consider the special conditions and circumstances that exist, which are peculiar to the land, structure, or building involved, and which are not applicable to other lands, structures, or buildings in the same zoning. That there are special conditions and circumstances that do not result from the actions of the applicant. Granting the variance request would not confer upon the applicant any special privilege that is denied by others. The literal interpretation of the provisions of the ordinance would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by others. The variance requested is the minimum necessary. Granting the variance will preserve the spirit of the ordinance and remain in harmony with its general purpose and intent. In granting the variance, the public safety and welfare must be assured, and in no case shall the granting of a variance result in a change of use, which would not be permitted in the zoning. So the analysis we have on page 11 of your packet is the same for variance number 9. Again, they're asking for reducing the size of the 20-foot landscape buffer all along the road and on the sides, mainly because of the fact that the buildings that they're proposing to put there and the parking lots encroach into those 20-foot landscape yards. And so they would like to have those reduced in half, down to 10 feet. They can still provide the minimum required vegetation in those 10-foot wide landscape buffers, but what would be remaining there. So the amount of vegetation won't be reduced. The applicant explained that due to the property being platted in 1983, complying with the existing requirements of a 20-foot landscape buffer will cause the property to be non-cohesive and incompatible with the surrounding lots that are developed with multifamily dwelling units. So this adjacent properties have a similar development pattern, in fact, a similar quad units as what is being proposed here tonight. So our recommendation is to approve, and that is on page 12 of your packet. Approval of the request to allow a variance of 10 feet for the landscape yard adjacent to the public right-of-way and in the side yards, provided the minimum number of plantings are met. In granting the variance, little interpretation of the provisions of the ordinance would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by others in the same zoning district. We interpret that to mean in the immediate area there. The dwelling developed with the required landscape yards should cause for a lesser building footprint and parking dimensions than the surrounding properties in the area. In addition, the variance will preserve the spirit of the ordinance to remain in harmony with its general purpose and intent. A 10-foot landscape yard in the side and front yards will remain in harmony with the surrounding structures in the area. So on variance number 9, we've made the same recommendation on page 43, I believe, of your packet. '45 of your packet. We thought the circumstances on variance number 9 were similar to the variance number 8. I'm just going to refer you to a couple exhibits. On page 34 of your packet, you'll see an exhibit that was submitted to us by the applicant that shows the proposed location of where the quad building will be on the property and the 8 parking spaces in front of it. And you can see the building and the parking spaces will encroach into that required 20-foot landscape yard, which they've highlighted in yellow. On page 38 of your packet, I've included a section of the code that's relevant to their request. So it's 30-332. It is in that table there. It's considered to be a multifamily use. It is required to have a B-type landscape buffer. And if you go further down on the next page, that tells you that a B-type is supposed to be 20 feet. So that's what they're requesting a variance to. On page 66 of your packet, this is now in reference to variance number 9, similar exhibit, but for a different property. You see the location of the building, 8 parking spaces in front, both encroaching into the highlighted area, which is the 20-foot landscape buffer. And then the code again on page 67 of your packet. So with that, I'll try and answer any questions you have about variances number 8 and 9.
The only question I have on page 21, the property, I guess the only property in that row, looks like it's all vacant except the very top property there. The request would put it similarly situated to that particular property.
Not sure I understand your question. The hatched area you see on that site location, on that cover sheet of the site plan, is where this property is supposed to be. That particular variance is
No,
relevant.
I see that.
Okay.
The house above that, or the structure above that,
On the corner,
on the corner,
on the aerial? Okay.
Granting this variance would make it so that it would meet the requirements that that property already has.
So the applicant, and they can answer, they're probably better answer this question, but they made a statement that granting a variance to have a lesser landscape yard would be similar,
Right.
make this development similar to what's already developed.
My
Yes.
recollection of the last month's meeting, I thought it was on the other side of the street for Fox Hollow.
That's correct.
So and those were already there, and I could see that it was going to be in compliance with those structures. Here, it's all vacant, but for that final structure. So I didn't know if I should assume that that structure would meet that same requirement. So I guess I'll ask the applicant.
My understanding is they are going to be coming back to you probably with future, I think they have 8 properties, what I
Yeah.
was heard earlier today.
I recall him, not yet, hold on a second.
Yeah, if you had the full aerial, you would see that there are more units to the south of that unit, of that block there on page 1. There are other units to the south already. I know because my son lived there for a while.
I did include an aerial on page 36 of your packet. You can't see the parcel lines dividing the properties very well, but you can see there's quite a few of those lots that are still vacant.
Are there any other questions of staff? Other than last month's presentation, this is just a mirror image, is that correct?
No.
What it looked like. All right, any other questions of staff? If not, we'll open it up for the public, and our first card, please.
Paul Abate.
Welcome, Paul. Name and address for the record, please, sir.
Name's Paul Abadi, 8721 Pine Barrens Drive, Orlando, Florida. Yes, to answer your question, it does meet all existing conditions that are out, that are required. The only difference is that we've increased a little bit of a landscape buffer to allow for some parking. So, but it meets all the other existing buildings. Any other questions I can help answer?
No, we're looking forward to having some more built.
Yeah, same plan over and over again. We're prepping the other ones that we have that are coming up. We locked in contracts on some of the other properties that are there, so we plan to build more of these, and we'd like to build out that whole Fox Hollow Road. Right now we own 3, and we're in contract for 5 others. The only one that we will not have is just one that's on the corner that I think is mainly for an easement for drainage.
Okay. Any other question? Yes, sir.
Just to be clear, in looking at the presentation last month on that lot, there's no reduction in the required number of plantings for the lot, only reduction in the area of the landscape buffer.
It's a reduction in the area for the landscape buffer. These lots are a little smaller than the lot that we presented last month. So it might have different landscape requirements, and will meet whatever the city's recommendations are for the landscaping at that point. But the lot last month was across the street, and it has a little different setback and different depth to it.
All right, seeing no other questions, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we have any other cards for this?
Dan Johnston.
Thank you. Any other cards? None? All right. So we'll close the public hearing and bring the item back for discussion or other questions of staff. Has any? All right. Have any motions or anything? Do the first one and then the second one, so there'll actually be 2 full votes.
Chairman, I'd like to move to approve variance 8-2022, 2311 Fox Hollow Drive to allow 10-foot front yard and 10-foot side yard landscape buffers in variance to LDR 30-332.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
I was gonna request an amendment to that motion to include the applicant to provide the minimum plantings required by the city.
I accept your amendment.
I second the motion as amended.
Very good. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, may we have roll call, please?
Chairman Taylor.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Smith Rodriguez. Yes. Member Beckles.
Yes.
Member Van Deven.
Yes.
Member Wheelis.
Yes.
Very good. So that's taken care of. Just a question, staff. Are we going to have to do this for every individual lot that they come up with all these 5? Pay all that?
Unfortunately, yes. Because each property, it stands on its own when you look at a variance. The other option is when you see a trend of the same kind of request coming in, then you recommend the city council to change the code.
Very good. Okay, do I have a motion for 10?
Regard to variance 92022-2301 Fox Hollow Drive. I move to approve the request to allow the variance of 10 feet, the landscape yard buffer adjacent to the public right-of-way and in the side yards, provided the minimum number of plantings are met.
Motion
Full second?
and a second. Any other discussion? Oh, yes. Turn on your mic, please, ma'am.
When they proposed it, it said that their buffer should not impact the number of plantings. Wait, so or is that strong enough to
That-
guarantee that they do enough, that they do the same number? I knew I saw that somewhere. Finally found it.
They did not submit a request for a variance to reduce the plantings, so even without that condition, we would still require them to put the minimum required plantings in there. All they're getting a variance to tonight is the width of the buffer.
No, I was just asking if they needed the amendment, because in here it already stated that it should not impact the number of plantings. It was already written in their proposal. So I was questioning if that was strong enough language that it should not impact the number of plantings, or if we actually needed the amendment.
So you're asking the board whether that amendment is even necessary.
Right.
I would agree that the amendment's not necessary. However, I think it makes it clear as day, so to avoid any further variance requests on.
Okay. Problem.
Seeing none, may we have another roll call, please?
Member Beckles?
Yes.
Member Van Deven?
Yes.
Member Wheelis?
Yes.
Chairman Taylor?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Smith Rodriguez?
We will see you again. Okay, page of my own neck. Here we go. For 10, 72. All right, next up is variance number 10-2022 for 3940 Angle Drive. And staff, would you enlighten us on that, please?
So the staff report for this one starts on page 72 of your packet for the agenda item. The staff report starts on page 74. So the variance request tonight is for property at 3940 Tangle Drive. Applicant is James L. Sanker, and this is to section 38-391, subparagraph G2, required landscape yards to allow less than the minimum 10-foot side yard setback required for an attached screen porch for property located in the single-family medium-density residential R1B zoning district. The applicant proposes to extend the existing screen enclosure to the edge of the existing home. The property is 7,800 plus square feet in size, which meets the 7,500 minimum requirement in the R1B zoning district. The property also has 75 feet of frontage on Tangle Drive, so there isn't an issue of nonconformity as far as the lot. A single-family detached home is currently located on the property. I won't repeat the review criteria. On page 75 of your packet, I'll give a summary of the analysis. So the applicant is proposing to expand a screen porch, which is located at the rear of the home, and extend the enclosure to the edge of the house structure. So currently the house is encroaching into the side yard setback, about 1.25 feet. The applicant explained that the home was constructed in 1992 with the existing side wall encroaching into the side yard setback by 1.25 feet. The applicant, who is the original owner of the home, stated that they were unaware of the encroachment at the time the building was constructed. The applicant would like to have the screen enclosure aligned with the existing side wall of the home to keep the property and home consistent and aesthetically pleasing. The expansion of the screen enclosure to align with the existing side wall of the home will create the additional encroachment, and that's why there's a variance request necessary. City records show that the proposed building plans from 1992 recorded built property with a 12-foot side yard setback at the, or the house was proposed to be 12 feet distance from the side yard at the west portion of the property. According to the property survey, the home was constructed with the side wall of the home encroaching into that 10-foot side yard setback. The screen enclosure, the applicant is therefore asking for the screen enclosure to align with that encroachment. So we believe that the expansion of the screen enclosure would increase the nonconformity. The existing nonconformity is not a hardship that would justify the expanding it. Their special conditions and circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant. That's a criteria of the code. We believe that this is being self-created. So our recommendation is to denial. In denying the variance, special conditions and circumstances do result from the actions of the applicant. The applicant does have beneficial use of the land, and hardship was created through the applicant. The request does not appear to be the minimum necessary. A small porch addition can be constructed without encroaching into the side yard setback. So we believe that the attached screen porch can be constructed and attached to the rear of the house. Doesn't necessarily have to be aligning with where the side wall is, which currently encroaches in of the house, which currently encroaches into the side setback. Just be a little bit, maybe 1.25 feet in. So I'm going to refer you to page 84 of your packet. And you'll see a illustration that was provided to us by the applicant. The image you see there on the right side is where the public right-of-way is, and so you can see the driveway going into the property, onto the property there, and the house dead center on the lot. Southwest corner there, or bottom right, bottom left, you'll see an area there that's highlighted in yellow. That is the proposed area where the screen enclosure will be located, and you can see it's being proposed to be flush with the side wall of the house, which again encroaches into that side yard setback. We couldn't find any records as to why that house was CO'd or inspected or approved to be allowed in that particular location. We can't answer that question. But it is what it is right now. It's currently encroaching, so the question is, can the screen enclosure do the same? I'm going to refer you to page 88 of your packet. Included the section of the code that's relevant to this. On paragraph G there, it talks about accessory buildings and structures shall meet the standards for the zoning district in which they are located with the following exceptions. And so the second table talks about the side yard setbacks in the R1B zoning district. And an attached screen porch must meet a 10-foot side yard setback. Now I'm going to refer you to page 94 of your packet. The applicant did submit several photographs, and the photographs start on that page there. I believe the applicant will refer to these photographs during their presentation. With that, I'll try and answer any questions you have.
Back when the house was built, was the setbacks still as they are today?
When the house was built in 92, I believe the setbacks were the same.
But no variance was submitted for ending in that area when it was built.
We couldn't find any evidence.
Does anyone else have questions of staff at this?
I just have one question. In 1992, the existing porch, was it part of, back in 92, the porch existing?
Are you referring to the line that is not highlighted yellow?
Yes.
Just, okay, it looks like, yeah, it looks like there may be an existing screen porch there.
Okay.
The applicant could probably better answer that question.
Said they want to extend the existing porch.
That was my
I
understanding.
was just wondering, if you had any idea how long that porch has been there?
That I couldn't answer.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions of staff? Seeing none, we'll open it up to the public hearing. May we have our first card, please?
James Sanker.
Senkel, if you would come up and give us your full name and address for the record, please, sir.
Good evening. My name is James Sanker. My address is 3940 Tangle Drive, Titusville, Florida. I'm going to show the council that the granting of this variance will not hinder the ordinance and it will remain in harmony with its purpose and intent to be in accordance with our home structure that it has been in for 30 years. As Mr. Parrish explained, we are the original owners of the home, and we moved in after it was built. And unbeknownst to us, we went through, we went through closing. We got our CO, all the sign-offs from the city, and our permits were completely done. There was never an issue or a problem at the time. Now, this, of course, was a builder building the house. We didn't build it ourselves. But we did purchase the home afterwards, but at no time was anything ever brought up during the building process, even at the title when we were closing, and nothing was mentioned or brought up also. They signed off, the city gave us our CO, and we moved in, and we've been there ever since. So I would also like to show the council that the 1.25 feet, which I believe is a reasonable use of the structure, and it aligns with the current structure of our home. So we're not asking to go anywhere past the structure. We're just wanting to align it with the current structure that is. And again, like Mr. Parrish mentioned, it's at, there's an 8 3/4 variance, so it was only, we're only asking for 1 1/4 foot to meet with the edge of the house. The permit that we pulled for the, to do the existing and to extend the porch, we had submitted that to the city, and the city has already signed off on our permit. I have copies of this if y'all need them, but they've already signed off on the concrete part. So the city agrees that putting the concrete out to the edge of the house is fine, that's not a problem. Also, ever since we lived there, I've noticed in the paperwork that it mentioned utilities or, as part of the easement or so forth. Again, I've been there 30 years. We back up to the retention area of the neighborhood, and there's nothing that can be built back there. At the same time, there are no utilities in that retention area. And in the 30 years I've been there, the city has never needed to or have used that easement to that side or either side of my home to go back there. There's really nothing back there that I can foresee the city having to get to or to access. I would also like to bring attention to the council that on page 93 of this appeal for the variance, you can see that my neighbor that is just to the west of us, that is pretty much the only neighbor that this would affect. moving over there. Again, though, the house has been there for 30 years, but we've talked to them about it, and they've even written and signed a letter, and you can see that on page 93, that they're in total agreement and have no qualms whatsoever of us extending the porch over to that. If you also look at page 94, that is a straight line picture from the house, from the front of the house. And as you can see, you can't even see the concrete, which if it lines with the porch, you won't see the porch either, from the street or from straight on from the house. So there's no, it's not going to be offset or going any further over than the house is already set at. On 95, I had moved over to the property line and taken a picture, and that is the most you would see of the porch. Again, the 8 3/4 feet over to the property, to our property line there. Again, some of the other pictures, 96 shows how that meets directly and is in line and meets flush with the northwest corner of our home. And then some of the other pictures, also 98 shows you exactly from the rear of the property how it's also in line with the house. On page 100, you can see that there's still quite a bit of land and variance there for some reason that anyone was ever needed to get through there, that they still have room for access. And 102 even shows that at a better angle, where it shows how much space is between our house and even all the way over to our neighbor's house. So the only other thing I'd like to bring up that Mr. Parrish had mentioned is where he said that that they believe that the porch could be moved in that 1.25 feet. At the time, I was checking to see what the codes were and that what was needed for a footer for this, for a porch that we were planning to extend, if not now, also, and we did a 12 by 12 footer. If you do the 1.25 feet, I'm going to be inside that footer. So now I'm not even going to be able to put that porch on the footer. But even still, if you did, now you're talking 15 inches of blank concrete sticking out from a porch, which I believe and I think is way more an eyesore to somebody and to the neighborhood and to surrounding neighbors than it meeting flush and even with the home. So again, we're just asking for that 1.25 variance so we can bring it over beyond the footer, be in line with our home, and where it's aesthetically pleasing to not only us, but our neighbors in the neighborhood.
And looking at the picture there on 101, page 101, you say existing porch, so I see that there, I can see the outline on the wall where there was an existing porch part of the back. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. We were just wanting to extend it.
But you repaved the whole thing. In other words, you took off the old and put a new flooring down.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
It wasn't concrete before?
What's that?
It wasn't concrete
Yeah,
previously?
it was concrete. It was concrete, but we needed to add it, and I needed the footer. There wasn't a footer for the base all around to the front of it for the porch to sit on. So I needed that footer at the front edge, which would be the far north part of the slab, and then also to the west side of it for the base plate to support the new screen porch.
Are there other questions of this witness?
Thank you for your time.
So you had a permit for the concrete?
Yes.
That was no problem?
No, it's already signed off.
No staff? Yes.
The code doesn't, only looks at the setback issues that we're talking about is related to the building. So you can pave your entire property. There's nothing about in there that prevents you from doing there isn't a maximum impervious coverage, in other words.
Yes.
There is a maximum building coverage, which is different.
That's
That's
what gets me is what's more permanent, a foot of concrete, or actually, 300 or what, that much concrete, or a screen porch that's screwed down that you can take up.
My question. Others?
Mr. Sanker, when you submitted your permit application for the slab, did it include the structural detail of the foundation showing your bar?
Yeah, it was included in the engineering for the porch. The screen room did the engineering, and I had them do a concrete engineer also.
That was included in your...
Correct. My original permit, yeah.
So my question is, before the concrete got poured, you were aware that it was encroaching?
No,
Okay.
I had no idea until we asked to extend the porch to the end of the home. And that's when we found out just the last month that our house was built inside the variance. We had no idea all this time. Like I said, there was never any issues during building of signing off on permits. We got our CO on time. There was nothing mentioned at the title company. Nothing was brought up. Everything went through smoothly and got our CO and moved in. Nothing was ever said.
You showed a copy of your permit.
Yes, sir.
Can we
Yes,
review that briefly? Everyone.
See that? Okay. All right. Seeing no other questions, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
We have another card.
Sherry Sinker. And Stan Johnston.
Stan Johnson, 860 Poinsett Avenue. And some of you know me, I'm a registered professional engineer, and been a registered land surveyor for many years. I worked for the city and was retired in 2008. And I wasn't here for this particular item, but I put in a card, and I'm definitely for this, and I disagree with the staff summary that says that its hardship was created through the applicant. It says hardship was created through the applicant. And I want especially to Mr. Wheelis to listen to what I have to share with, because my understanding is when someone has a house built, that they're going to have a foundation survey before they proceed with putting up the walls. I believe that's correct. If you're
Mr. Johnston, the policies changed numerous times.
Okay.
Years.
All right,
As
so-
we've gone through, we've seen weaknesses
Okay.
have changed. Yes. Currently, that is the process. Actually, that's reflected in the building code.
Okay.
As it changed over the last,
Thank you.
in my experience, 25
Thank you.
years.
Okay, so what we're talking about is Mr. Sanker has an especially what I call is a clear-cut right to be having this variance granted because I want to say is in this case it's either an error by the city or an error by the surveyor, which he was an innocent victim of, him and his family. Now, that was made some time ago before he even purchased the house, and he had contracted for it with someone to buy it. So we're talking about, again, we're talking about it is not a hardship was created through the applicant. And then the next hardship was we're talking about he has a slab poured with a footer, not just a slab, it's a slab with a footer. So for these reasons, I'm asking you to approve it, and also I've seen a number of variances granted similar to this that were against the say wishes or examination by city staff. So, and in this case, I believe it would be altogether unjust for you to disapprove this variance request. It just, and also has, I can see it got a letter from the neighbor. So who in the world?
Can I ask you what relevance you have to the property? Are
Beg your pardon?
Are you part owner or something?
No,
or-
I told you when I came in here, I wasn't even for it. Although my daughter lived, pardon? Okay, I want justice. I'm a registered professional engineer. I'm licensed by the state to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public.
No,
In
I
this
was
care-
asking like relative to this particular case.
That's what I'm telling you. Listen up, again. Listen up. I'm licensed by the state of Florida to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public. In this particular case, I see that the welfare of this family is being let's say, compromised.
Have they
unless
asked-
you-
They've asked you to speak on their behalf?
No, I don't know. Although okay,
I'm trying to get an understanding
Okay.
as to,
I do have a right to
do we
speak on
typically
this.
have other people speaking on behalf of other people?
I've never met 'em.
cases? Okay. Okay.
My daughter lived, for many years, she lived almost catty corner of these people. I never met them. Johnston's. Maybe you knew Jennifer. So I'm just saying I'm concerned because I want justice being done, just like you, Mrs. Beckles, you just took an oath of office for the you just took an oath of office, that would constitutional, what's good for the public and so forth. In a similar way, I took oaths when I became in the military and also joined the city of Titusville. So thank you, and I really do encourage you to provide them this variance. I think if you don't, I just feel it's completely unjust necessary from everything that I've seen and I've been through. I'm 70, I'll be 76 this month. So
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
thank you.
Do we have any other cards?
No, sir.
All right. At this time, we will close the public hearing and bring the item back for discussion or questions of staff or motion. Have observations, discussions?
Let's simply note that the permit, if I read it correctly, did indicate that it's replacing the screen porch that was there about 19 by 17, and then it indicated the slab was extended past that. However, that being said, this does not seem like an unreasonable request, right, of the particular property, neighbors not having an issue, concrete being permitted to go out so far. I think it would still meet general spirit of the code in light of the existing non-conformity unknown for the past 30 years.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you. How about that? We agree. Any others? Yes, sir.
As do I. The fact that this reinforced slab footer installed, looking at the shape of the building, the aesthetics associated with installing a screened enclosure that set back a 1.25 foot as opposed to one that's installed flush. There's no real purpose served for the benefit of
All right. Any other discussions? We're seeing none. No other questions of staff? Seeing none, I will go ahead and make a motion, please.
I will move to approve variance 10-2022 at 3940 Tangle Drive to allow less than the minimum 10-foot side yard setback, specifically to infringe 1.5 feet into the side yard setback, to allow for the attached screen porch.
A motion, do I have a second?
I second it.
Very good. Any further discussion? Seeing none, may we have roll call, please?
Member Wheelis?
yes.
Chairman Taylor?
Yes?
Vice Chairman Smith Rodriguez? Member Beckles?
Yes.
Member Van Deven?
Yes.
All right, congratulations. Or you can stay, yes. Enjoy our company. All right. Next up, we have variance number 11-2022. Address is 1784 Crossbill Drive. So staff, would you enlighten us on this, please?
I apologize, the staff report is at the very end of this agenda item. It starts on page 139. I didn't put it at the very beginning of this agenda item, so I apologize. So again, this is for variance number 11-2022, property located at 1784 Crossbill Drive. The applicant, Casey Grenville, is requesting a variance to the code to the Plan Development Zoning Ordinance number 40-2017. The applicant is asking for a variance to the rear yard 20-foot setback in the Plan Development Zoning for this development, for this subdivision where this lot is located. The surrounding zoning are also PD, so this lot is located in a planned development subdivision. It was approved in 2017, called South Carpenter Estates. This is a special zoning district that they had to go through, so it's a tailor-made zoning district for this particular subdivision. The property is more than 9,000, the lot itself is more than 9,000 square feet, which meets the 7,500 required. The analysis begins on page 140 of your packet. So in this PD zoning for for Carpenter Estates, a 20-foot setback is required in the rear for principal building structures and for rear yard structures, accessory structures as well that are attached. The porch will measure, the attached screen porch that's being requested here will measure 206 square feet and be in addition to the existing covered porch located at the rear of the home. Going further down on page 141 of your packet, the applicant is requesting that the proposed porch addition encroach about 1 foot 6 inches into the required 20-foot rear yard setback. The request, according to the applicant, is due to the irregular shape of the lot. The applicant explained that the lot is located where there is a curvature of the road, which causes the home to be located 10 feet further away from the property line than a typical home in the area with a rectangular lot. The applicant stated that the request is the minimum necessary as they wish to encroach less than 2 feet into the setback while still maintaining a suitable sized screen enclosure. In addition, the zoning states that the dwelling size must be a minimum 2,000 square feet. That's a stipulation that's specific to this PD zoning district for Carpenter Estates. Finally, the widths of the lots are met. I didn't finish that sentence there, excuse me. The applicant does have beneficial use of the land without the development of the proposed addition. A screen porch was incorporated into the construction of the 3,000 plus square foot home that currently exists on the property. The home was constructed on a lot created as part of the planned development zoning application. The PD for this development allows small lots, provided a minimum 35% of the gross floor acreage is preserved as open space. So in other words, the planned development required the entire development to maintain 35% open space, allowing the developer to make very small lots to whatever size they want, and then tailor make the setbacks and everything as part of that PD zoning. So it allows for clustering of density in some areas of the property in order to preserve other areas of the property. That was what happened here, and that's how this Carpenter Estates subdivision was approved. The PD also allows for reduced setbacks in order to accommodate standard size homes. PD ordinance number 40-2017 states that each lot must be a minimum of 8,000 square feet with 20-foot front and rear yard setbacks and 5-foot side yard setbacks. Finally, the lot width is 70 feet. The front yard, according to the PD zoning, is measured from the line where the two side lot lines are 70 feet apart. What that means is, even on a curvature, a lot that is created and has access on a cul-de-sac, for example, will have the frontage itself, that curvature might be less than 70 feet. So you keep measuring back until you get to the point where the two lines of the sides of that property are at 70 feet. That's where you measure the front, and then you go measure back from there. And the PD ordinance specifically states that. So we do not believe that the lot is irregularly shaped. This was to account for lots that might be adjacent to a portion of public right-of-way with a curve that is less than 70 feet. The home is larger than the minimum required, and a porch already exists on the lot. The request, therefore, appears to be self-created hardship. The staff recommends denial of the request to allow variance 1 foot 6 inches into the minimum 20-foot rear yard setback for property located in this PD zoning district. Variance is self-created and is not in harmony with the intent and purpose of the zoning ordinance. So with that, I'm going to refer you back to some other exhibits on page 105 of your packet. Oops, excuse me, 116, excuse me. You'll see an exhibit there that shows the lot. You can see the dimensions of the lot there. You can also see the curvature that's referred to. You see that there are some permeable pavers in front of the house. And you can see the size of the house there on the lot. Also, looks to be a screen porch that's already incorporated into the rear of the home. So the applicant is requesting to expand that, and the dimensions that they're requesting would cause it to encroach into that 20-foot rear yard setback. So the house right now is 25 feet away from that rear yard property line, but with this addition, it will make up and be in that remaining 5 feet, but then encroach another 1.5 feet into that rear yard 20-foot setback. I'm going to refer you to page 126 of your packet. This is the PD ordinance. So basically, it's a special zoning ordinance that has conditions attached to it, and those are the development standards. And in here, you can see in section 1.8 the dimensions of lots and the development standards. So there, 1.8 paragraph A, lot size minimum must be 8,000 square feet. Lot width 70 feet, and then it even describes how that is determined right there. It also determines maximum impervious lot coverage. There's no issue here so far. In paragraph E, you'll see the setbacks, and then you'll also see E2, 20-foot rear yard setback. And that's applicable regardless if it's an attached screen porch or the principal structure. With that, I'll try and answer any questions you have about this.
Going back to page 116. Backside of the house said it was 25 feet from the property line?
Excuse me, 25 plus.
Okay. They can go another 5.4 feet without infringing, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
I just see, is that a 22? That's in the bottom of that page. That must not be a measurement then. Okay. Okay.
Question. There's an HOA involved in this, apparently.
Yeah, there's some common areas, so there is
Right.
an association.
And on page 127, it says that the utilities, stormwater conveyance system be maintained by the HOA if it's not publicly owned, and the rear 10 feet of the lots may be used for stormwater treatment with dedicated drainage easement. Does this encroach, or is this not in harmony with what they're saying is necessary? Should they be involved in this?
I believe that's only applicable to certain lots that do have that easement in the back. I don't see it on here on this survey, but it did attach the plat to your agenda, so we can take a look at that just to confirm. The plat is on page 138 of your packet. It's a large document.
What's the lot number again? So what we're looking at? 37.
Lot 37, yes.
7.
I do not see that as an issue here.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments for staff? Seeing none, we'll open it up to the public hearing. First card, please.
Dan Johnston.
Okay.
That's the only one I have for this item.
Applicant doesn't wish to speak. Just make sure you bring the card up after. Your name and address for the record, please, sir.
Name is Casey Grinville, 1784 Crossbill Drive. So a couple clarifying remarks. The back porch is not enclosed at this point. It does have some concrete pillars that are kind of in the middle, and that's what makes us kind of need that little bit of extra space to make it usable. So that's really the reasoning for that couple of extra feet. You know, if we add on 3 feet, we have a pole and a screen. Very usable space. And so that's why we were saying with the lot shape, we were forced to, being on the slight bend in the road that we're in, we had to have the extra couple feet of setback, which pushed the house further back, left us with 5 feet. So all we were looking for was an extra foot to be able to put a reasonably sized enclosure. And then the goal actually is to not obstruct the view of the conservation area in the back. We're actually trying to keep it up taller ceiling and try and keep it with the styling of the house effectively.
Anyone else have any questions of this applicant? All right. Thank you very much. Do we have any other cards?
No, sir.
All right. Got a pen for you. All right. In that case, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the board for discussion. Whatever.
So, quick question for staff. The tract F parcel is backs up to lot 37. I'm sorry, looking at 128, the plat. That is the preservation or conservation area not be built on.
You're looking at page 128?
128.
Okay, so that is the master plan that was attached to plan development zoning. So everything outside that yellow area would be common area. So you're referring to tract F? Yes, that is part of this master plan, and it is preservation area.
So the point being, there's no impact to any neighbors by allowing a 1.5 into their rear yard setback.
No.
What is it? 6 foot? They're wanting to add on? What I didn't drawing, maybe I missed it. 6 foot? They're adding on.
The total, well, I guess the depth of the screen porch, the applicant probably better answer as to its accuracy. For our request, what we received is they're asking for 1.5 feet into that rear yard setback as a result of the dimensions of the structure.
So 7 foot. 7 feet, basically. Okay, 7 feet. Thank you.
For listing matters from a standpoint.
Okay, the depth you already have. Thank you.
That was going to be my comment on page 116. It indicates that the covered porch is 8.5 feet. They get another 5, they can do another 5 feet without it, 5.4 feet without issue. So just shy of a 14-foot porch without violating the at all. Like to be.
Yeah, the problem is most building things are done in 2 foot increments, so It's a request on that I found. Any other questions or comments? Comment or what?
I'd like to make a motion. Sorry. It's to 11 to 1784 Crossville Drive. Move to allow the variance, 1 foot 6 inches, the minimum foot rear setback.
Okay, we've had a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Is there further discussion in the board? Yes.
5.4. Feet, 5.4 feet. Thank you. Yeah, 5.4 inches, no big deal. Reasonable use.
Well, seeing the discussion, may we have roll call, please?
Vice Chairman Smith Rodriguez, Member Beckles,
No?
Member Van Deven,
Yes.
Member Wheelis,
Yes.
Chairman Taylor.
Yes. Unfortunately, the motion died. Is that correct?
Chairman, you got it correct. 4 affirmative votes are required to pass on any variance, and I would like the 2 no votes to please state the basis for the denial.
There are not special circumstances or conditions which variance the land.
So that the hardship is being caused by the applicant. Just because they're requesting beyond what could be allowed variance.
Can we have a short recess? It's a couple minutes.
Very well, sir.
of your packet. This is number 12. This is a vacant piece of property that does not have an address. The applicant, Mr. Jimmy McDonald, is requesting a variance to land development regulations, section 28-316, the office professional zoning district development standards, to allow more than a maximum 25% building coverage allowed in this zoning district for property located in the office professional zoning district, located on property with Brevard County parcel number 22-3504 AU-2-1. Excuse me, I lost my page already. Okay. So the surrounding properties are also office professional, with the exception of just across the street on another block is community commercial. So the office professional zoning district does allow single-family homes. Property is approximately 5,500 plus square feet in size. Property is zoned office professional, which requires a lot size area minimum of 1 acre. So this lot does not even meet the minimum for the OP zoning. Property has 53 feet of frontage on South Dixie Avenue, which is less than 150 feet minimum required in the OP zoning district. Property is considered to be a non-conforming lot of record. Property is vacant. The applicant proposes to develop one single-family dwelling unit on the lot, which is consistent with the OP zoning district. There are a few other single-family homes on this block which is zoned OP or office professional. So you can do an office development, but you're also going to have a single-family home next to it. The analysis begins on page 145 of your packet. The applicant is requesting a variance to allow more than a 25% building coverage. So all buildings on the property all structures that have a roof cannot exceed more than a quarter of the size of the lot. The applicant is going to be adding a shed with the house, and that will actually trip that 25% max threshold up to 30%. Proposed dwelling and shed combined would measure 1,669.5 square feet, which is 278 square feet more than the allowed 25%. The applicant explained that the property is a non-conforming lot and thus unable to meet the size requirements of the OP zoning district. Property was platted in 1913 through the Park Addition Plat prior to existing zoning development standards. The applicant stated that the proposed home has been reduced in size to meet the requirements of the zoning, and 30% is the minimum building coverage necessary to develop a dwelling at a reasonably priced amount. The applicant also explained that the required setbacks will be maintained and the proposed home will meet the aesthetics of the neighborhood. Section 34-347, subparagraph A3 of the code states, for variance for dwellings on non-conforming lots, the board may also grant such variances on lot and building requirements in cases of hardships, so as not to create any condition detrimental to public health, safety, and welfare. This section of the code has 3 provisions in it. If you have non-conforming lots, someone wants to build a single-family home, it allows the building official to go ahead and issue a permit if the lot is non-conforming as far as width and size, but all other criteria have to be met. The setbacks still have to be met, even on a non-conforming lot. If they're unable to do that, then they have to come before you for a variance. So in this case, they are saying that the applicant is saying that they can still meet the setbacks, they just can't meet the other development standards, particularly the maximum building coverage. We believe that the development standards required by the zoning does present a hardship to the applicant. The lot frontage and building coverage requirement cannot be met due to the lot being a non-conforming lot of record. The hardship does not appear to be a result of the actions of the applicant. Staff recommends approval of the request to allow more than the maximum 25% building coverage, specifically for the combined square foot of structures on the property to measure, as stated earlier, 1,669 square feet for property located in the OP zoning district. In granting the variance, special conditions and circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant. So with that, I'm going to refer you to page 155 of your packet. On 153, there's an illustration. It's kind of, this was scanned and submitted to us, but it shows where the house is going to be located. But I just want to jump to the code section itself for the development standards for the OP. So on page 155, you'll see the minimum lot size, minimum width size in the OP zoning district. And then you'll also see building coverage, 25%. So that's what they're asking for a variance to. Everything else they can meet. With that, I'll try and answer any questions you have.
We've had this discussion with properties in this area. When I look on page like 158, and I see property was plotted back in 1913, and it's all of a sudden, when it was administratively redesigned, it was given OP status, and there's nothing but single-family homes on that block, the next block down, the next block down. There's never been a commercial establishment on these. Why? I don't understand the reasoning. Of course, I wasn't here in, 92, 93? They did, what year was it they did all administrative? 93. Here, I moved here, but before I got here. They put that kind of zoning on a piece of property that has been residential for a very long time. So yes, I would vote approval of this because I'm just sorry that these property owners have to come before us on every piece of property in this thing when it's been a residential property since day one. Is there any way to fix things that were done back in the past?
You as the board have every right to make a recommendation with a motion to City Council to consider looking at the code and maybe changing it. The only thing I could suggest as to why this possibly happened is a lot of cities will do this. They'll have a long-range plan that says we would like to have this area converted over time into a different type of development, standard type use, whatever that might be. And so they apply a land use category or a zoning district on an area, hoping that over time that'll change. That's not always successful. That might not be successful in this area, as you've observed. So you have every right to make that recommendation to City Council.
Thank you. Any other questions of staff from the reporter? All right, we'll open it up to the hearing, public hearing. Do we have first card, please?
Jimmy McDonald.
Mr. McDonald, would you please come forward, give us your full name and address for the record, please, sir? It's on now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my name is Jimmy McDonald, and my address is 2647 Marigold Avenue, Mims, Florida. And I've been developing this neighborhood for some time now, and I want to develop this corner lot. And when we did a survey, they said we need to meet the setbacks, and the setbacks on the corner lot were 15 feet. So we had it we didn't meet the setbacks, so we went and had the house redesigned, and it meets the setbacks, 15 feet clearance, and have 25 in the front and 25 in the back and 10 on the neighbor's side. So we do meet the setbacks, and we're just trying to provide affordable housing for that area. Okay. Thank you, sir.
So, any other questions of the witness?
Thank y'all for y'all time, too.
Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any other cards?
Dan Johnston.
That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Dan Johnston, and I looked at this variance request and read the report, and I'm in agreement with the report to approve this variance, and it just makes sense to just go ahead and do it. It appears to me it's just really not a big deal to grant this variance. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any other cards?
No, sir.
All right, and we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the board for discussion or a motion. Proper number.
I move to approve variance 12-2022 regarding parcel 22-35-04-AU-2-1 to permit more than the maximum 25% building coverage in the OP zoning district, specifically to allow the 278 feet additional as submitted in the variance. Square feet, 278 square feet. Did I say the square feet?
I just want to make one comment about that.
Or I can say up to 30%.
I was going to recommend that because it does allow some flexibility.
So up to 30% coverage.
I'll second the motion.
Seeing none, may we please have roll call?
Member Van Deven,
Yes.
Member Wheelis,
Yes.
Chairman Taylor,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Smith Rodriguez, Member Beckles.
Yes.
All right, so we have made it through all 5 for tonight. Congratulations. Look forward to seeing a nice home there. All right, at this time, we'll open it up for petitions and our requests from the public. If you speak.
Dan Johnson.
Stan Johnston, 860 Poinsett Avenue. I'm speaking to you as a registered engineer and a surveyor. My license isn't active as a surveyor, but I was registered in 76 PE and 1980 as a surveyor. I'm coming to you about a special problem in which you were involved in some time ago. Not everybody was here when that time. It was at that time the project was known as Elizabeth Oaks Townhomes, comprising 28 townhomes. That's proposed on a 2.9 acre parcel at the corner of Elizabeth Avenue and Whispering Hills Road. That's
Mr. Johnson, I'm sorry to interrupt you, just so I can have a roadmap. Are you going to be requesting the board do something specific at the end of your
I'm going to
presentation?
try to do that. Yes, I am.
Okay, so can I put you on hold for a second
Yes.
and ask a question of council for procedural guidance?
Sure.
Does the board have authority to grant requests from the public as it pertains to our duties on this board?
The board has the ability to make recommendations to city council if you think that there's a need for a code change. And so depending on whether that request applies to a code change that you agree with, it could
Okay,
tentatively.
that answers, thank you. Mr. Johnson, your ultimate request at the end of your presentation, does it specifically ask us to make a code change recommendation to city council?
It recommends. Sorry. Thank you, first of all, for asking this question. Very good question. And I will be asking, it's going to be a somewhat of a rough trying to ask for you because I am going to ask for some consideration of this issue. And I've also sent it to you on emails.
Okay, so I
Yes.
will tell you, we actually had, I think most of us, if not all of us, had received several emails. I will tell you, I did not read it. I thought it was an improper communication and
Okay.
an improper method in which to present anything.
Yes.
Other than being here in the open to do something. But I would kindly ask you to tell me the very end of your presentation first, what specifically you would like us to propose to the city council so that I can follow along with the rest of your presentation.
Okay,
So what
very good.
specifically are you
Very good.
asking us to do?
Okay. Yeah, I would appreciate it if you would have read those because I had photos and so forth like that. have to do with this.
It's a lot
Okay.
during the workday for something that I
Yeah.
don't even know when and if it's coming
Yeah,
to me. So,
okay, this is a big deal.
so what's your specific request?
So what has happened is a horrible thing. A horrible
But what's
thing.
your specific request so I can follow along?
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
What do you want us to request?
Okay,
to
I want
change
you to
the
try
code?
to undo something that's horribly being done.
Do we have the authority to undo previous action?
No, you don't. But you have authority to request someone to look into it.
Do I have that authority?
Yes, you do.
Well, let me check with city council because I want to pay attention, but I want to stay focused on what I'm authorized to do.
Yeah.
Do we have the authority to ask for an investigation of a previously adjudicated issue before this board?
I haven't heard that done before, although.
That's not what I asked for, anyways.
You said investigation
Yes.
of
you
something
did,
that was
sir.
done.
I didn't say what was adjudicated before. Yeah, I guess. Okay, we can say that. Okay.
Okay.
I think this board is tasked with recommending code changes to city council, and that nature of that request would end up in the city manager's lap, and it's not necessarily, there's no nexus to this board.
Okay.
Okay. And this can be not necessarily council, but it can be staff. In other words, what I'm talking to you, what I'm going to be, in other words, my recommendation is not necessarily even going to the council level.
Okay. I'm happy to hear you out. I don't want you spinning your wheels or us wasting our time if
Exactly.
there's nothing that can be done.
You're making a good point, and
I know,
I appreciate you.
I want to make sure everyone's time is respected, so that's why I was getting to that point first.
You're making excellent points, and I thank you for bringing this up. Good, it's a good job that you did that. So, because I didn't know how to present this, and so let me start with the end, and then okay. So what has happened is that there's a horrible thing that's happened on a project, horrible, and I'm looking for for staff to at least look into it because I'm getting closed doors on it. People are not responding to it that staff should. I'm talking about the fire department and not necessarily Brad Parrish, but other people in the department. And it's so what it is so that's what I'm going to be asking for. Okay, that's a general. So specifically, what has happened is that some time ago is that this project called Elizabeth Oaks went through this board, and 6 variants were approved. 6 of them, 6 variances. Like for example, approving the 25-foot to 20-foot front setback, approving reduction of the required right-of-way width. Just a lot of things. That what it did, it concentrated this development, this 28 homes. So it's maximum use of a property for R3 property, and in the maximization of this property, what happened was it looks like, I want to say it's overlooked a very important issue that property owners did not know a thing about, adjacent property owners. So in this particular case is on the south end of the property, there's a dirt road known as Mockingbird Lane. And it comes off of a concrete apron paid for by the city of Titusville in 1986, about 1986. That's 20 feet wide. And from that, it has a dirt driveway that has an access of, for the most part, 30 feet wide to 2 houses at the end of the street. And what the city has approved in July of 2021, that is the P&Z and the council has approved a sketch plat which allows only a 10-foot access to 2 properties at the end of the street. There's 2 houses at the end of the street, 10-foot access. In other words, right now they have 2-way access. It is garbage trucks go there, fire trucks says they'll service it and so forth like that. They're going to change it to 10 feet, a reduction. I can't get anybody to change it. Understand is that if it's a single-family lot or a flag lot, the stem width, the minimum width is 25 foot for one house. I'm a professional engineer. I've done numerous projects in the city of Titusville, for example, La Paloma, out here on Sisson Road, that big mobile home, what's it called? No, not that one. San Mateo. San Mateo, I did some of those, and I did Camelot Apartments. And I had to have 50 feet wide, and now we're looking at 10 feet wide. So the two property owners, especially, are concerned with is one of them is, for the most part, disabled, Mr. Dasher, and the other one are elderly people. They did not know about this approval or what was going on. It was approved in July until January. That's months later. Didn't know a thing about it. And as far as they're concerned, is they didn't even know it was going through the Board of Adjustments, which was probably well over 18 months ago. So now they're in a situation where its construction plans are being approved with a 12-foot. They changed from 10 foot to 12 foot with instead of and I'm not getting a genuine response from planning department, fire department, and so forth, because the fire department, they say on one side of the plans, they say for these homes, it has to be, for fire trucks, it has to be 20 feet wide. And now they're saying, well, you only have to have 12 feet for these two houses, these houses are on R3 property. So it's hard to believe this, but I'm talking to one of the owners and saying they've gone and talked to Brad and said that, we will want to develop the property. And they think that they can develop the property with a 10-foot access easement that also goes through and it's not even two-way, but they have two-way traffic now. So I am struggling. And I'm not getting responses. For example, the fire department, I do a request for records, a formal request for records for code requirements and so forth on this. So I believe that they need a variance to go for this 10-foot wide access. They're calling it a private driveway for these, because I believe it should be much wider. It should be at least allow two-way traffic. I'm asking you to ask staff to look into this matter. And looking into it, they ought to identify what is the code requirement. I cannot get response, and I've been trying for weeks to get a code response. What is the requirement for the width of this access for these two multifamily lots? Can't get a response yet. In other words, I have a formal request, state statutes and everything I'm quoting. Haven't got a response. So this is a horrible situation that I consider is misuse of the disabled and the elderly.
So, Mr. Johnson, I think your request to find out what the code says and whether it's being met and whether a variance is needed is a reasonable request.
Exactly.
So I will take your comments, and if I am able to relay that to the city, it sounds reasonable and not very limited scope.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, staff, do we have any reports? Do we have any, at this time, do we have any for next month?
You have one application so far for next month.
We will take care of it, sir. Thank you. So we do have one for next month, for on board, or at least one.
April 27th is your next meeting, so yes.
All right. Care to make a recommendation to staff, or would you like to investigate it further before you recommend it?
Would just kindly encourage the city or staff or whomever that if there is a general public records request in compliance with the Florida statute, that it be complied with, as is the law. and the reasonable request asked by Mr. Johnston pertaining to the code on that property found to be appropriate and within the public records request, I would simply ask that the city comply with the law. Thank you.
All right. How much longer we got you for? Is it?
I'll be here next month.
You will be here. Okay. She thinks, okay. All right. Is there any other? So are we up to full staff now? As far as two alternates and 5 permanents?
You have a full board, but as far as staff, yes, we are short-staffed in the planning department. As you know, we lost one of our planners recently to another city. But yeah, the 5 members that are currently sitting are all 5 full regular members, and there are 2 alternate seats.
That's a change. That's good. It's been a while. All right.
Thank you, Dr. Beckles, for joining our forces.
Well, anything else for the good? Anybody? All right. In that case, we will adjourn the meeting for tonight. Thank you.